Want to call the meeting to order. Please stand and say Pledge Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Exciting to see a lot of people here this evening. First day of school, but I guess everyone's here to tell us it was a wonderful first day for all your students or your children. So with that, do we have any announcements?
Springford welcomed thousands of students back to school today. RCTV asked a few students what advice they give to students entering the grade level they just completed. This is what they had to share.
Dear fourth grade students. Dear sis. Oh, dang it. Dear kindergarten students, have fun. Dear first grade friends, I hope you have a lot of fun. Sincerely, second grade.
Dear first grade students, you should focus on your math. Sincerely, a second grader.
Dear new second grade students, a way to learn the turnaround fact is to just write the number down and then do it like if you like 6 plus 1, then you would turn it around to like 1 plus 6. Sincerely, a third grader.
Dear grade 3 students, I hope you have a fun year in third grade. Always try your best. Don't care about what other people say if they're being mean to you. Sincerely, a fourth grade student.
Dear fourth grade students, remember, when you're writing essays, underline from the text and reread the directions carefully. Sincerely, a fifth grade student. Dear fifth graders, make sure to pay attention in class. Sincerely, from a sixth grader. Dear fifth graders, make sure to pay attention in school and always do your homework, or else you won't be able to go on your field trip or do field day. Sincerely, a sixth grader.
I think as long as you study and as long as you participate, I think you'll have a great year and love your teachers and have good classmates. Sincerely, grade 7 student.
Dear 7th grade students, make sure to ask your teachers questions because they can help you in any way possible. Sincerely, an 8th grader.
Dear grade 8 students, best thing for you to do throughout this year is make sure that you do your homework. Otherwise, you will get a 0. Trust me, I know. Sincerely, a 9th grader.
Dear future 9th graders, I'm going to tell you something about 9th grade. It's a lot easier than 8th grade. I know 8th grade is very, very stressful and, school is everything, but 9th grade is a lot more chill. Do your summer reading, because I didn't, and that didn't go so well. Sincerely, a 10th grader.
Dear 10th graders, my advice for you is time flies. You're gonna come into this building and it's gonna be chaotic, and then you'll blink and the next thing you know, it's the last day of school. You gotta know when to put your best foot forward and try your best. If you ever need help, go to a teacher, go to someone that you trust. Someone will definitely help you here. And you'll make it through. You're gonna struggle sometimes, but you'll be okay. Sincerely, an 11th grader.
Dear 11th graders, my most important advice to give to you going into 11th grade is to really manage your time. It's so important to save time to study, to save time to do what you love to do, and just to have fun as well. Sincerely, a 12th grader.
Great job.
Thank you.
So did you guys have fun your first day of school?
Yes.
Anything exciting happen?
No.
No?
Not really. Same old, same old. For me, at least. Nothing new. I mean, since I'm a junior, so. Yes.
Junior is fun.
Yes, it is. I'm excited.
That's good.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Public to be heard on agenda items only. Okay, we have a student rep report.
Okay, so today's student report will be very short and sweet. If y'all didn't know, today was the first day of school, and I bet every student is excited for the school year because I know I am. Thank you.
All right, I like that. Western Center, Dr. Dressler.
You like short reports, is it?
That's good, yeah.
The Joint Operating Committee for the Western Montgomery Career and Technology Center met on August the 13th. Mr. Chris Moritzen, the director, reported that the summer camp was very successful with 142 students participating. The teaching staff is undergoing a mental health training program to deal with mental health issues with the students. The enrollment figures so far are 593 students enrolled compared with last year's 570, so we're making steady improvements in the enrollment. And the meeting ended after about 13 minutes, I think it was. It was sort of a record, and if I hadn't asked questions, it would have been 9 minutes. One other thing I want to report is on September 11th, there's going to be a flag-raising ceremony commemorating those that died on September 11th, 2001. It's at 8:30 in the morning, and two of our band people are going to be participating, playing taps, and there will be honor guards to raise the flag from various military and law enforcement agencies participating. So hopefully some of you will be able to make that to commemorate that terrible day. That is the end of the Western Center report. Any questions?
Okay, PSBA.
PSBA, we have elections of officers coming up next month that will be on our agenda for the board. The PSBA raises the question about homework, whether we want to continue assigning homework in the elementary grades. This is something that probably the Curriculum and Technology Committee should consider, and maybe parents weigh in on whether they still want to have homework assignments for their children. They reported, of course, on this controversial issue of federal money being used by the Department of Education, the Federal Department of Education, to purchase guns for teachers in the schools. I'd like to know what the parents feel about that. And finally, there's been a request that the board support Senate Bill 1098, which would install camera systems on our buses to record any violators of the stop arm violations, meaning when a bus stops and that arm comes out and people go whizzing by, they would record the license plates and identify those people. And supposedly the installation of this system would be paid for by the fines that would be accumulated from that. Any thoughts on that, Mr. DeBella?
I think it's a great idea, but it's extremely expensive to the district until those fines catch up.
Yes, I imagine so. So anyway, that's the end of my PSBA report, and I guess a lot of school districts have weighed in on this Senate Bill 1098 already, so I don't know if we want to take a stand on that or not.
If we outsource busing, how would that be put on our customers that provides busing? Since we don't own the buses, how would that be done? Because we pay them a certain amount of money, and if there's a mandate, they'd have to do it.
I presume this would be a regulation, either a PD or a PennDOT, that all buses by a certain date will be required to have them. So, as a contractor, and it's built into the contract, those requirements would be something that they would have to follow the contract.
How would this be processed through the legal system? Let's say a car runs around a bus. We're going to forward the information to whom? And if they fight it, do we have to provide legal representation?
Well, I don't have the bill in front of me, so I mean, it's in the devil's in those details, and I don't have those details. But
I suspect we will have minimal involvement in the criminal side of it. should there be some sort of fine or ARD process for those
Oh, for
individuals.
sure, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Legislative report.
Just a couple brief things. Pennsylvania school funding lawsuit is moving forward. A judge ruled last week that the pretrial motion that declared the lawsuit moot was unfounded, and so the case will move to trial. So that's one item. Again, Act 55 of 2017 was made significant changes to the public school code. So there were a few reminders that have come out. One is with regards to Section 1337, which has to do with school food program. So just reminding everybody that students cannot be denied a meal. It has to be the same meal that's offered to all of the other students. We can't call them out. If a student does run a negative balance for 5 days or more, the district can reach out to the parents, and in fact, any delay or any debt, owed monies, we can certainly seek. One point of clarification that has come out in 2018 is that if the student is in grades 9 through 12, we can direct communication to that student as long as we're not calling them out and in front of others or doing it inappropriately. So that was one point of clarification. There's also another element, which is with regards to school director training, and some clarification did come out on that as well from PDE this summer. It is specific, so the school director training, 4 hours of training are required for all new school directors. Clarification is that is for the school year 2018-19. So any director appointed or elected after July 1, 2018 is obligated to complete the 4 years for 4 hours, sorry, I apologize, in a 4-year term. For those who were elected in 2017, they are not required to complete those 4 hours, however, they certainly may. For those elected in 2017 who are re-elected in 21, they would be obligated to complete 2 hours of a refresher training course. So that was some additional clarification that was added. Also, just wanted to point out a couple items with regards to Act 39, which were of 2018, which are the changes to the PA school code, as well as Act 44, which is the school safety and security. A lot of these are just reminders. Fire and emergency evacuation drills must be conducted at least once within the first 90 days of the school year, and they may be in lieu of the required fire drill. And then it's no longer an option. This is a requirement. So that was a change. Reminding, again, to the board, executive sessions may be held to discuss safety and security issues. Each chief school administrator must appoint a school safety and security coordinator, and I'm happy to say we have done so and excited to welcome our new member. Required to complete a school survey, so that'll be coming out at a later point. There will also be online mandatory employee training for safety and security to address situational awareness. It's going to be a minimum of 3 hours of training every 5 years. And there are a number of ways in which we can accomplish that requirement and resources available, and more will be coming forth. So we'll be looking for that. We've talked a number of times about the third-party services and the new requirements in seeking to enter contracts with a third party. So just a reminder on that. Our favorite one, I think, that came out of this last year was the time and manner of adopting and furnishing textbooks. We don't have to limit that to a certain period of the year. When there are opportunities, we can approve and purchase textbooks at any point throughout the year, so that's very exciting. And Keystone exams, use of Keystone exams as a graduation requirement has been delayed for an additional year until the 2020-21 school year. So those are just the reminders that have been kind of floating around and where there have been a lot of questions or points of clarification among the legislative committee over the summer.
Mr. Fitzgerald, I think they're on the School Safety Security Act 44, us appointing, or the administration appointing a school safety coordinator. We talked about this at the IU, and there seemed to be confusion on if it's just appointed by the executive director or if the board actually should make a motion. We ended up making a motion just to cover it.
I would think that if we are appointing to a position, even if it's somebody who's a current employee, that this should be done by the board.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing that we concluded there.
Yeah, and the change in the bill regarding the textbooks, I think Mr. Fink deserves some credit for that. He talked to State Representative Tom Quigley, and Representative Quigley got that added to one of the bills for this year. So, Mr. Fink, you were instrumental in that one.
Any other questions? Okay, MCIU, brief report. We did meet August 22nd. Like our board meeting, it's really just the back to school, start of the school year. So it's a lot of just cleaning up the summer business with hiring and all that. We did spend the time talking about, like Christina said, Act 44, and there's a lot of things that are going on. The state is actually, moving in a good direction, addressing security. The school safety at the federal level, that's one just small aspect of the potential of arming individuals within the school. There's also funding that's coming down, or may be coming down from the federal government, that districts would be able to use that funding and put it towards enhancing security measures within their buildings. So we got to pay attention to that as well. And the other piece of it is because they've are finished up their budget for this coming year. The still looming out there of the deficit, which is the state deficit, which is being reported somewhere between $1 to $3 billion. There are different advocacy groups out there now that are standing up and looking at the funding, and because there are concerns as far as what that entails to the public schools over the next couple of years as the deficit continues to grow. So it's definitely something that we need to also keep an eye on. But other than that, that pretty much ends my report. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. DeBella. As it's already been mentioned, we welcome back over 8,000 students to school today, and I believe that we're off to a great start for our school year. Remind the board and the community that this year the district will continue to send teachers to the Delaware Valley Consortium for Excellence and Equity. This organization, or this consortium, is motivated by an equity-driven mission to positively transform the lives of each and every one of our students by training our teachers to work with our diverse children and youth who have traditionally struggled in school. Some of the topics, and there are many this year, will include building leadership for culturally responsive schools, showcasing what works in our schools and better serving our traditionally underperforming students, engaging and teaching diverse learners, and nurturing culturally responsive pedagogy in our classrooms. As we've done in the past, we'll also send students to participate in the annual middle school and high school Student Leadership Institute. So we'll continue to participate with DVCEE this year, and I appreciate the board's support in that. I'd also like to mention that we have many new employees starting the school year. We've just gone through and hired our teachers. We just did 3 days of induction with them last week, the week before. And we also have a new principal at Limerick Elementary, Miss Lori Bignati, and she's right back there in the back of the room. How you doing? We also transferred Mr. Rob Moyer, Dr. Rob Moyer, over to Brook Elementary. We also, and I think most of the public knows this, but Mr. Bruce Cooper retired last year, and we replaced him with Mr. Robert Hunter as our Director of Facilities. And then lastly, the board also approved a new position for this year, and we have now a Coordinator of Safety, Security, and Emergency Preparedness. Mr. Dave Boyer will oversee our police officers, as well as coordinate all aspects of safety, security, as well as emergency planning within the district. So we appreciate his work. He's hit the ground running. And lastly, we had convocation last week, and each year for the past few years we've been recognizing 2 or 3 of our employees with what we call the RAM Award. And so we'd like to just take a moment to share that with the audience. If we can run that piece of video.
Laura McNeil Murphy has no off button. She multitasks in her office every day, happily fielding phone calls from other nurses and parents, taking care of Evans Elementary School students and staff, and working hard as the Health Services Coordinator for the elementary level. Laura is a certified school nurse as well as a certified grief counselor and is currently working on her master's degree in education with a specialty in safe schools. Laura has spent countless hours organizing various school collections and events during her time at Evans. Laura works to support the many initiatives like Evans Walking Club, Evans Wellness Wednesday, the Couch to 5K program, and Soul Sisters, a walk and talk program to promote self-esteem, self-respect, and resiliency with 4th grade girls. She also organizes an annual coat drive, blood drive, walkathon, and the district-wide weight loss challenge held each January. Outside of school, Laura can be found crocheting baby blankets and caps, which she donates to the Pottstown Hospital Obstetrics Clinic or to the A Day with Chase Foundation. Her blankets are used to comfort the parents of stillborn babies, and her caps have been worn by dozens of preemies as they struggle to stay warm. Laura does all of this without any fanfare. She quietly goes along with her day and manages to be a great school nurse, mother, wife, and friend. She is very humble and appreciative of all life has to offer. When you walk into Sean Reardon's classroom, you can feel the positive energy flowing. Sean is a patient, caring individual who gives his undivided attention to all of his students. He starts with a deep understanding of his subject matter and pairs it with knowledge of his students' needs in order to provide engaging lessons. It is obvious that the students love RamQuest. All you need to do is look at their faces when they're entering or leaving his classroom. Always putting the best interest of the child first, Sean will go out of his way to help a student be successful, whether it is in the classroom, on the playground, or at lunch. Sean's kindness extends to everyone well beyond the classroom. When he is on door duty, students are greeted every morning with a warm hello, how are you this morning? Have a great day. Staff members are affected as well. Whether on duty, in a meeting, or during one of his technology lessons, Sean is sure to be respectful of his co-workers' time while incorporating a little fun. Sean's work ethic doesn't quit. He can often be found at school well past the end of the school day as he reviews his lessons. He takes time to reflect on his work and is always striving to improve. He looks for new and effective strategies and collaborates with regular education teachers in hopes of reaching every student in his class. Sean understands that he is a teacher all of the time. He models respect and kindness at work, in the community, and in his personal life. His students know that he values education as well as kindness and integrity because he models these values every single day. Sean Reardon has a joyful and kind spirit, and we are lucky to have him at Spring Ford. As the high school principal, Dr. Nugent serves others with dedication and passion. He has devoted his career to the school district and continues to do so with integrity and loyalty. Dr. Nugent has worked to create an environment of collaboration and teamwork through internal structures and norms within the high school staff. His sense of personal and social responsibility is evident through his consistent approach to his job. Dr. Nugent has dedicated his entire professional life to Springford, the high school and community itself. Through his passion, dedication, and commitment, he has been at the forefront of establishing Springford Area School District as a nationally ranked and high-performing school. He has been instrumental in the growth of a number of programs at the high school. As a result, the success our students experience is a positive reflection upon the entire school community. Dr. Nugent helped recreate homecoming and enhance the school's AP offerings to more than 20 in a short period of time. School spirit is at an all-time high, as is the school's consistent academic achievement. The time and responsibilities associated with his job have meant personal sacrifice, all which he makes to enhance our school. When challenges arise or when he sees an opportunity to enhance Springford, he does so without hesitation. When you think of commitment to education, teamwork, going above and beyond, it is clear that Dr. Nugent excels in all of those characteristics.
Congratulations to Ms. McNeil, Mr. Reardon, and Dr. Nugent. This is our RAM Award that we give out each year. This is these individuals who receive this award receive through peer contributions, and they make recommendations of who should receive this award. So we've been doing it for, I believe, 3 years now. And so this group this year was very deserving, and we certainly congratulate them.
Thank you. Congratulations. Solicitor's report.
I have no report this evening.
All right. Meeting minutes. Do I have a motion? Motion second. Any comment? All in favor say aye. Aye. Personnel, A through J. Motion second. Any comment? All in favor say aye. Aye. And the personnel, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. David Boyer to the, let me get this right. Oop. To act as the school administrator of the school safety and security coordinator that's required by Pennsylvania. Any comment?
Public.
Any comment from the public regarding that motion? I got a comment, Tom. What is the true role of that, other than a representative?
No, that individual coordinate, it basically will do everything that Mr. Boyer has been hired to do, coordinate safety drills, and I can't remember right off the top of my head what the list was. I just read it today, but some of the things that fall within his job category, coordinating those kind of aspects. Mark?
I would add that I believe the provision was essentially put in place for more rural school districts. Right. That was not going to be able to add an administrator. The district here did add an administrator, so it's really his job title and his specifics, but this is more for adherence to the provision in the law now.
So what PDE defined as a coordinator is required to oversee all the school police officers, school resource officers, school security guards, and policies and procedures in the school entity, and report directly to chief school administrator, in this case, which is our superintendent. The coordinator must make an annual report to the board of directors in exec session, not subject to right to know, by June 30th, 2019, and each June 30th thereafter, and also needs to coordinate the biennial tour of schools with the appropriate law enforcement agencies. So that's pretty much how PDE defined it. That's what he's going to already be doing. Yeah. Okay. Again, as like it's mentioned, Springford, we got out in front of this and actually hired somebody and defined that role, and it's all made up as far as what's been defined within PDE.
So your motion is something that's not on the agenda. It's in addition to C. But it's not part of C. It's something additional. No, it's just additional.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Finance, A through F. Motion second. Any comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Property, A through E.
Second.
Motion second. Any comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Programming and curriculum, A through D. Motion second. Any comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Conferences and workshops, A through H.
Second.
Motion second. Any comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Other business, A through D.
Second.
Motion second. Any comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any board comment?
Yeah, with the appointment of the new safety security person, I'd like to have a goal added for the school district for this school year to include a presentation in executive session of addressing the security assessment we had with outside firm, and to review what our vulnerabilities are and the risks of each one of them and how we're going to address them or not address them, so that we understand what, where we stand with security and what we plan to do going forward, and so we have an idea of whether or not we think we're addressing it appropriately.
You're referencing the study that we had done. You're saying revisit it and tell us where we're at.
Right, and we have a new person, so I would expect there to be a lot of initiatives as a result of that, which I think would translate into a goal for the district, a superintendent goal for this year, since we just hired somebody, and that's an important role that we address all those concerns, because I think that's probably one of the #1 issues in the nation on education now is how to keep schools secure.
And to add to that, we did have a review of that last year, so that report.
I thought a lot of that was addressed. Yes.
But
right?
we were
was.
never presented anything because we didn't want to do that in public. Now the
Correct.
law allows us to go into executive session, so I think we need to, so the board understands what's going on. I mean, I don't like to operate in the dark because ultimately if something happens, it falls back on the board for not taking action or knowing what was going on, and I want to make sure we're covered.
No, I agree. I think that's a fine objective. That's part of what we hired him for. So I would expect, and maybe Dr. Gooden, you don't have to make mention tonight, but in the near future, let the board know when you would be able to have a first pass presentation to the board. And kind of what we were holding back is because we knew that exec session law was going to be passed, so we didn't want to discuss some of the findings in public. But I totally agree with you with Mr. Boyer coming on staff that we should have him do a pass-through and start making recommendations and laying out maybe a 5-year security plan and focusing on items of most importance up front, if any. Any other board comment? I just want to, there's a lot of people here this evening. 2 things. One is that you notice that we did go through the agenda, and for those that haven't been at a board meeting before, it's not that we just burned through these things. A lot of these agenda items are things that we've been working on in committee over the last couple months, or recommendations that come from the administration, as well as last week we had a work session, so this is not the first time we're seeing this information. So that's why if you're sitting here, you're saying, wow, they're moving pretty quick. That's why there's a lot of work that goes in before we actually have the board meeting with committees and that. What's that? Well, right. All the committee reports are available online, and each meeting, as you heard this evening, we do committee report updates from each of the chairs of those committees. So there's a lot of information that's shared with the board. So that's why you'll see sometimes meetings like this where we'll go through the agenda items pretty quickly. Also, we do have, if there is going to be public comment, we do have a 3-minute maximum as far as talking points, as well as you have to have standing within the district. You have to be a resident and taxpayer of the district. And also there's a sign-in sheet where you need to provide your name and address as well at the podium. Any other board comment?
I just want to say how, welcome back to the 2018-19 school year, but it has been so fun today to see all of the pictures that have been posted online of all of the students. It's been awesome. It's been so much fun, the bright faces of the staff and teachers and students. I just hope that means that we're going to have an awesome year this year. So.
Well, looking at our student reps, we're going to have an awesome year. Look they've been smiling from ear to ear. Any other board comment?
I wanted to add when you were talking about the committee reports too, so in case some people aren't aware of this, but we do share them between the work session and the board meeting so that we also don't bombard you with all of the committee reports at one of the meetings. So just to say that there are other reports that you can find online, or you're welcome to come to any of our work sessions and hear about those committees too.
Any other comments? Mr. Jackson, you look like you want to say something. You good? Any public to be heard on any items of interest?
I didn't know you were talking about millage tonight.
That?
Now you hear you, what?
I said I didn't know you were going to talk about millage rates tonight.
Oh, no, we're one of the best in the county. One of the lowest in the
No.
county.
Mr. President, Board, Superintendent.
Your name?
I will.
Okay, all right.
My name is John McGuigan. I live in Upper Providence Township. For the past, we moved in 5 years ago, and my two children are about to enter their third year in the district. We are very pleased with our experience, so much so that we pulled our kids out of a private school and put them in Spring-Ford School District. Particularly the administration and the art and music teachers are outstanding. But tonight I wanted to speak about an individual that my son had last year, Mr. Kevin Bean. I know there's probably a lot of people here to speak about Mr. Bean, and I thought maybe I could come here and alleviate some of their concerns since my son was a member of his classroom last year. At no time did Mr. Bean express any supremacist, alt-right, or racial views. In fact, Mr. Bean created a very positive atmosphere for my student. We got a rough start to the school year. Mr. Bean worked with us, took time out of his schedule, and the results were very, very positive. Mr. Bean, I have come from a family of school teachers. My brother and his wife were both school teachers, and I realize the challenges that they have. I think he does an outstanding job showing passion and dedication to his students. At no time did I feel as though there was any negative atmosphere at all. With respect to what happens outside the classroom, I've shared with Mr. Bean that to get a character to becoming an antagonistic view, maybe he should change it to a New England Patriot or Dallas Cowboy. But I understand from watching the video and talking to him, at no time does that character that he portrays express racial or supremacist or alt-right views. I would hope as an individual, I do not want my employer commenting or approving what happens, what I do on my free time as I volunteer my activity or partake in a part-time job. And I know firsthand as school teachers progress through the chain and work their way up the pay grade, they sometimes take part-time jobs to supplement their income. And I hope that one day that's not necessary, that we adequately fund our teachers. I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zach Lurie, and I'm a resident of Limerick, but I'm actually here tonight as the Spring-Ford Education Association president. I'm here at the request of Mr. Bean, Kevin Bean, to read a statement from him that I believe will address a lot of concerns. For those of you who've seen videos or have read reports online or in the newspaper. So anytime you hear me say the word I, it's not me speaking for myself, it's me speaking for Kevin. So anytime I say I, it's Kevin. So good evening. Thank you to the school board, administration, and Spring-Ford community for your ongoing efforts to support our students. Thank you as well to the SFEA for speaking on my behalf tonight. I have had the honor and privilege of serving the Spring-Ford Area School District as a 6th grade teacher for 14 years. I have served my school by being a member of the Resiliency Committee, Pro-Social Committee, being a faculty friend to students, supervising the chess club, and playing the drums for school concerts and assemblies. I've also had the honor of receiving the Senior Impact Award multiple times from former students. Wrestling was a boyhood dream for me. During my time as a professional wrestler, I have portrayed many characters. Most recently, I was cast as a bad guy. The sensationalized character and person the media has accused me to be is misleading. I do not believe in or support the philosophies of anti-Semitism or hate groups in any way. The individuals who know me only through media coverage may believe this bad guy character represents me personally, and that is not the case. I am truly remorseful for the pain and discomfort it has brought to these people, as that was never my intent. I would like to clarify 3 specific points. First, this character no longer exists, nor will the character return at any point in the future. Second, presently I am not wrestling. I am focusing my energies on my growing family and a successful school year. Third, wrestling is not something I plan to discuss in the classroom or at any time in a school setting. My personal values align with those of the Spring-Ford Area School District. I sincerely apologize to the members of the Spring-Ford community. I extend my thanks to those who have shown support and hope to regain the trust of those who I offended. And that's the end of his statement. And I do feel that I can comment personally. I've known Kevin for many years. I have never experienced him to be anything other than accepting and welcoming of people of different backgrounds into his classroom and into his cohort of teachers. So I do hope that people realize there is a difference between a character, which he is remorseful for.
Exactly.
Okay. And the actual person. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sal Daly. I live in Upper Providence Township. I'm not a great public speaker, so I'll try to do my best over here. I have 3 children in the school district here. Excellent school district. We love it. We've been here about 15 years. First on my agenda, Guns for Teachers. I think it's a great thing that we should do. I think there's plenty of teachers out there with the proper training, with the police department and with the school police. I think it's something nowadays we need, whether you like it or not, admit it or not, think it's politically correct or not, we need it. Hiding behind a desk or in a closet or throwing rocks or trying to hit somebody with a baseball bat who's got a high-powered rifle or a gun doesn't work. It's ridiculous. Number 2, bus cameras. I think it's a waste of money. You're going to get the back of a car with a license plate. Now you got to prove who's driving the car. Carries a $350 fine, automatic suspension of your license. They're going to fight you tooth and nail. I can guarantee the judge is going to throw it out. You'll be wasting your money. And number 3, why I'm here primarily is because of Mr. Bean. Let me compose myself a second. My daughter was in a 6th grade class. She's now in 11th grade. We love that guy. I went to numerous wrestling matches watching him. He was an awesome wrestler. And for him to give it up because a bunch of people don't think it's politically correct is ridiculous. I grew up watching wrestling. You had the good guys, you had the bad guys. The bad guys come by, everybody cheer them on, or, the good guys come up, they clap for him. I went to a bunch of his wrestling matches. He'd go around, people jeer him who didn't know him. Students of his cheered for him, not because they thought this parent group represented, because they knew the kind of guy he was. He was a great teacher, a good person, a person whose father stood up and sang the national anthem at every wrestling match before he passed away of illness. A person who goes to church, has a new baby, a person that cares for his students, and as far as I know, in the 5 years that I've known him, no one has joined any neo-Nazi groups. I think it's a sin what you had him to do. I think it's a sin that without him being able to represent himself, he was drugged through the mud, through newspapers. No one ever went and interviewed him. No one ever went down to a wrestling match and watched him wrestle. Never even questioned him. All he did was make judgments of the guy. And I'm here to tell you that is wrong. If I went to your house and started passing judgments on you or following you around and saying, I don't like what you did and I'm offended, and I try to get you fired or anything else, I don't think you will like it. I hope he goes back to wrestling. I hope he goes back to the character he was. If he wants to be a good guy, it's fine. Okay? I watch wrestling. My father took me to wrestling down at the Wells Fargo Center. I was at ringside. I was Bruno Sammartino. I was beating the hell out of superstar Billy Graham with a cowbell. Nobody was offended. Now everyone's offended. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Carly Glickman Collier, and I'm a resident of Upper Providence Township. I want to speak tonight as a parent whose son had Kevin Bean as a teacher this past school year, as a parent who attended Kevin Bean's wrestling show with my family, and an active member of the Jewish community. My son respected Kevin Bean as a challenging and energetic 6th grade teacher who prepared him for 7th grade. My son not only had the regular rigors of the 6th grade curriculum and extracurricular sports, but he was preparing to become a bar mitzvah at our synagogue this summer, which required many, many hours of preparation over the past year. My family attended Kevin Bean's wrestling show early this past school year. And if you asked me to describe his wrestling persona, I would have said he played a German who didn't like Americans. He played up to the kids in the audience by making jokes about them not doing their homework. We all laughed as we knew he was playing a role. Not once did I detect an anti-Semitic or racist tone during the show. In no way, shape, or form has Kevin Bean ever demonstrated anti-Semitic behavior in my presence at that show or in the other occasions that I have seen him at school. I know that there are people who are describing Kevin Bean as a Nazi. I wonder if any of these people know him, have ever had a child in his class, or frankly, have ever had a conversation with him. If they had, they would see the gentle giant that I have seen. They would see the dedicated teacher that I have seen. And they would see the teacher who wants your kid to succeed. They would see the Kevin Bean that I know.
First, I ditto Carly. My name's Alyssa. I live in Upper Providence Township also. We've lived here nearly 20 years. My kids have gone to the Springford School District for their whole lives. In fact, when we moved last fall, our biggest requirement was that we stayed within Springford School District. We love this district. We love the teachers here. I'm here mainly tonight because while for many people that I've talked to, it would be easier to stay out of a controversy like this, and to not show up, I feel like if, God forbid, anyone ever was smearing my character publicly, I would hope that the people who truly knew me would show up and not be afraid to defend me. And that's why I'm here, because I know Kevin and I want to defend his personal character. I first met Kevin when my son had him in 6th grade. And from the moment I met him at the beginning of the school year, I realized that he took his role as a teacher extremely seriously. He cared about the kids and their future. He worked extremely hard. He was probably one of the most caring teachers my kids have ever had. His class was very rigorous. Anyone whose child has had him knows that they get a lot of homework. And my son quoted specifically regarding this homework. This is a 6th grader saying this. I know Mr. Bean is giving us this work because he cares about us and wants to have successful futures. Even his students recognize how much he truly cares about them. Everything about him screams kindness. Literally, it seeps out of him, kindness. He is a gentle giant. He brought breakfast into his classroom for students who did not have food at home for them. Some of us collected food and donated it to him so he could feed kids who did not have food given to them at home. He paired me up with students on our Hershey Park field trip that he knew needed guidance and mentoring, and asked me if I could be with them as their chaperone for the day because he felt like it would be helpful to them. He invited students to attend his wedding. He went the extra mile every single day in his classroom. He literally was one of the most inclusive and caring teachers my children have ever had and experienced in all their years in the Springford School District. I want to say I knew all about Kevin's wrestling career. I knew that he was the bad guy, and that character is not Mr. Bean. He was playing a role. It's the exact opposite of everything that Kevin represents in his personal life when he's not playing the role on stage. In fact, my son shared with me that there were times where he would use the fact that he was a bad character in wrestling as a learning example for his students of what not to do. So I just want to wrap up by saying that I support the district's decision to keep Mr. Bean as a teacher. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ruth. I'm also a resident of Upper Providence. I am also not a public speaker, so hopefully I'm going to do a quick job here. I'm going to be quick. Our daughter was fortunate enough to have Mr. Bean several years ago, and he made the classroom a welcoming, safe, inviting place for everyone who entered that room. He's so enthusiastic about learning that you can't help but just share that love of learning. He teaches them by example, showing them kindness, compassion, and respect, which they then pass along to others. He genuinely cares about every student, their well-being in and outside of the classroom. Every interaction we have ever had with Mr. Bean has been a positive one. He shows us the same respect that he shows the children. The kids are smart. They know when people are genuine, and they can tell when someone truly cares about them, and Mr. Bean truly cares about every student he has ever taught. That's the kind of man that you would welcome into your home, and we would be proud to welcome him into our home and to call him our friend. He's an incredible teacher, as well as we have. We are a fabulous district, and it is because of our amazing teachers, and he is one of them. And I support you, and I thank you for your decision to keep him as a teacher. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. DeBello, I just wanted to, since we're working under a new policy, I think what we should do is make sure that everybody gives their first and last name as well as their address. They're saying they live in Upper Providence, and we have no reason to not believe it, but just for how we should have it moving forward.
Okay.
Hi there. My name is Rachel Schlossberg. I live at 31 Sophia Court in Limerick. I have two children in the district, Matthew, who's in 10th grade, and Leah, who's in 7th. Matthew was lucky enough to have Mr. Bean in 6th grade, and I support your decision fully to keep him. We're also of the Jewish faith, and at one point in the year, Matthew actually experienced some anti-Semitism, and the first one that went to Matthew was Mr. Bean, and at that point, Mr. Bean took Matthew under his wing, and he mentored him, and he nurtured him. And when you're trying to get through to 11 and 12-year-old kids, it's not always easy, but he got through. He knew that he was okay because of who he was, and he did invite him to go to one of the wrestling matches. Our family has seen him, and all we saw was a German bad guy. We did not see Mr. Bean up there. It's no different than calling out somebody who played a Nazi in The Sound of Music and saying that they're a Nazi now. It's acting. It's not real. Mr. Bean is, if we're lucky enough, we get that one teacher in our life when we're an adult and we look back and we say, that's the teacher that made us love learning. That's the teacher who influenced us. That's the teacher who made us do what we wanted to do. That's the teacher that made us want to get up that day and go to school, even when the days didn't really look so good. That teacher is Kevin Bean. He's the reason I believe that all of these parents are standing here before us today. And if I'm telling you about my son, how many other kids are there like my son that he's taught? Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name's Keith Bricker. I live in Spring City on 162 Chestnut Street. I've known Kevin for 8 years now, and my daughter had him in 6th grade. And him being a social studies and history kind of teacher, he's one of the influences that makes her want to be a teacher now when she graduates after this year. It was because of his influence. I think this is all ridiculous, to be honest with you. I really do. I'm mad. I really am. It's a gimmick. It's a show. It's actors. I mean, if there's actors that portray bad guys on TV, do you get mad at them? No. He's got a young family. He's a spiritual guy. He's a very good Christian. And I just don't understand. And I want to throw this in. I don't know if this matters at all. But this was started by some guy who had some kind of issue there out in California. That's how this got started. This guy posted some comments that he doesn't even know Kevin. He lives on the West Coast. He works for some gossip mag. So if you're going to go by something that this idiot says out in California, that's ridiculous, you know? So I appreciate you guys are keeping him here, and I think it's the right decision. And I don't know why. A lot of people already stole my thunder, so I'm like kind of back in line. So, but I just want you to know he's not what you think he is. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. But thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Andrew Rosenblum. I live 2 Victoria Circle, Collegeville. Obviously,
You want to step a little closer to the mic?
I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Obviously, from the crowd reactions, my opinion and my thoughts are divergent from obviously the majority here. That being said, I still think something needs to be said in retort. I have 2 children in the district, and as many of you know, I'm here today not on my just behalf as a parent, but also other parents that have reiterated the same opinion to me since this came to light. And it's to make a statement about the investigation into the off-duty conduct of Kevin Bean, the resulting district response, and the reaction from the public. Now, before I get into specifics, there's one thing that I wanted to make very clear. This isn't political to me. It's not an issue of right versus left, which many people want to try to portray it as. In my opinion, it's what's right versus wrong, and what's acceptable as a role model for our children. Now, I am very proud of this school district, and specifically chose to live here because of the diverse demographic of the district. I wanted my children to grow up with people of all ethnic, religious, racial, and socioeconomic backgrounds. Spring-Ford fit that, which is why we live here and we will continue to live here. That being said, I have to say that I am honestly disappointed by the investigation of Mr. Bean's activities, the outcome, and notably the conclusion that he did not violate any board or district policy. And what was more troubling to me was the aftermath, and specifically the racist, bigoted, and insensitive comments on articles that were posted online of people claiming to live in the district. Personal attacks made against me for specifically stating an opinion. People do not know me, and you don't know my political standing. I was a labor and employment attorney for 15 years. I recently left the practice. So I am well aware of the factors that would be evaluated in this type of situation, and the interplay of board policy, district policy, the collective bargaining agreement, and PA School Code of Ethics. Thus, I also know that in Pennsylvania, going as far back as 1939, the Supreme Court has held teachers as role models to a higher moral standard and to have a greater fiduciary duty to the children that they are entrusted with. They have a fiduciary duty that are akin to doctors, lawyers, nurses, whether on duty or off duty. Teachers have a duty to conduct themselves while off duty in such a way as to command the respect and goodwill of the community, and to not set a bad example for the youth whose ideals a teacher is supposed to foster and elevate. If that teacher fails to do so, it calls into question the integrity to do their job, which may be evaluated by the state. As you're aware, the board retains the right to discipline for actions while off duty. There's policy. And affect their ability to do their job. Mr. Bean, as a teacher, a role model, with this enhanced fiduciary duty, entrusted to set a good example for our children, in my opinion, failed. For Mr. Bean to make a conscious decision to portray a character that embraces or represents a Nazi culture and found it appropriate to walk around with the Iron Cross flag, shouting "Sieg Heil," while making a Nazi salute, which is criminal behavior in at least 11 countries, at a public event with children present, is, in my opinion, morally repugnant. It's embarrassing, and to me, it's unacceptable for an educator. What is worse is that the district essentially rubber-stamped such actions by not taking any action. Now, I don't know Mr. Bean personally, and I'm not attacking him. Did I interrupt you?
No commenting from the floor, and your 3 minutes are up. Your 3 minutes are up.
Can I wrap up real quick?
2 seconds. I cut everyone off for 3 minutes.
All right. Now, I understand that he said these aren't his personal beliefs, but he made a conscious decision to choose that character. It's different from the analogy that was made by others as an actor, because Brad Pitt in Inglourious Basterds isn't going and teaching my children the next day
Okay,
about World War II.
you have to wrap up.
And I thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Allegado. I am at 13 Castle Drive. I'm uniquely qualified to speak about this because
What township were you?
Limerick.
Okay.
I actually am a professional wrestler. I've helped train Kevin Bean. I've been in the ring with Kevin Bean. I've been in the locker room with Kevin Bean. And in spite of what some people have said and how some people have construed him and his character, that is not at all him. In fact, when we are in our locker room, we say a team, or basically a group prayer. And who leads that but Kevin? And we have a group of people in our locker room that represent every type of ethnicity, every type of religion, and every type of race. I went to Kevin Bean's wedding. I am clearly not Aryan, nor do I support any of that, and neither does Kevin. Kevin is a good man. What he portrayed was not even a Nazi character. It was strictly German. And I think Kevin went to that extreme to make sure that it wasn't construed as that. Kevin's not a dumb guy, but he's also not an evil guy. And I'm really glad, I'm really proud that you were able to stick up and not bend to all of the environment that we live in nowadays. I don't care where you live, which side of the spectrum that you're on, the damage was already done to Kevin. I'm just glad that it's been mitigated by you sticking up for him and letting him keep his job.
Hello, my name is Colin Sanford. I live in Upper Providence Township, 13 Cree Square, and I'm a 2018 Springford graduate. In the 2011-2012 school year, Kevin Bean was my 6th grade teacher. From the very first day of school, Mr. Bean's classroom was one of positivity and encouragement, showing kindness and respect to everybody and showing that they truly mattered in his class. During the school year, he had each student write an encouraging note to each other. He called them care notes. Each student received their notes at some point or another during the school year. 7 years later, I still have all my care notes. They meant so much to me. He was not only teaching the lesson at hand, but he was teaching us to be good citizens and compassionate to everybody, because everybody mattered. And I can honestly say right now that I made more friends in his classroom alone than I have in all 4 years of my high school career. And I am still friends and in contact with all of them. My parents met Mr. Bean back at the back-to-school night and learned that he was an amateur wrestler on the weekends. My dad was thrilled to hear this, as he grew up watching WWF and WCW. The next time Mr. Bean wrestled at Zern's, my dad went to the show and brought me. If you have ever been to a pro or amateur wrestling show, you would know how crazy and fun it is. Mr. Bean played a big, mean German guy who yelled at people in his fake German accent to stop eating American hot dogs and eat bratwursts. It was hilarious. Since that time, I've seen Mr. Bean wrestle many times, and many of my friends and family have gone, and not ever once was he pretending to be a Nazi. He was a very popular bad guy, or as they say in wrestling, a heel. And if you don't know, wrestling is fake. It's acting, every bit of it. During February of my 6th grade year, my father passed away unexpectedly. He had a heart attack at age 82. I'm sorry, 42, I can't read. I was 11 years old, and my whole world was shattered. Without question, Mr. Bean was there for me and my family at the worst time of my life. And he's been there ever since. He took special care of me, watching me in his class, and he was even there for my very first jazz performance.
You have to wrap it up.
Okay. No matter what, he's been there for me. And despite this matter at hand, he's been watching after me and asking me how I am. And real quick, one more thing. He gave me a faith stone when he saw me. And he told me that it was in his pocket during that meeting when you guys decided to keep him. And with tears in his eyes, he put it in my hand and he gave it to me. And I just want to say what a great guy he is, and I'm really thankful that you're keeping him.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Ed Hudak. I live at 10 William Penn Drive, Schwanksville Township. I'm not here to talk about Mr. Bean. I'm here to talk about the Spring-Ford School District and their hiring practices. 14 years ago, the hiring practices done at Spring-Ford allowed this school district to be the school district that it is today. You would not have the videos that we saw earlier in this board meeting if the hiring practices were not done properly to select the proper people to teach the children of this school district. I agree with the school district in the controversy that they had to deal with this summer, and I am glad that they did not succumb to the social pressures of the extracurricular activities that individuals choose, such that it causes the termination of their employment. If the choices that they make externally to the school do not break any laws nor affect their performance at work, then it's no one else's business. So I applaud you for what you've done, what you continue to do, and how you make the school district a wonderful, successful school district that, as you hear from everyone here, pro or con, they want to be in the school district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Arlene Hudak. I live at 10 William Penn in Limerick Township, Schwanksville. I'm here this evening to say that my son had Mr. Bean when he was in 6th grade. Mr. Bean is a caring, loving individual. He is an outgoing spokesperson in his classroom. He's a role model for his students. He goes above and beyond for all the children in his class. Mr. Bean not only welcomed the children in the class, he also welcomed the parents, inviting them on field trips, inviting them to come for field day, and also when he was talking with them for parent conferences. We chose to live in this district. It is the best in the area. I'm a teacher as well. I chose to move to this area for the outstanding education from all the teachers. Mr. Bean is one of those outstanding teachers. I also have a 6th grader that went to school today. And in the eyes this summer, when my son graduated, he was saying to my 6th grader, "I hope you have Mr. Bean. He's very positive, he's very caring, and he's loving." We did not know anything negative about Mr. Bean, and I'm here tonight to tell you that I thank this board for standing up for him and not feeling the pressures. I feel that the media took it way beyond where it needed to go. We have so many positive things in this school district. One of those things was the school board this year for the scholarships. They gave out $400,000 in scholarships. My son received one of those scholarships. I didn't see the media talk about that, but I saw the media talk about the negativity of Mr. Bean. So I want you all to know that we have the best teachers in this school district. We have the best board, and I thank you all for giving Mr. Bean a second chance. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm really loud, so you may not even need the microphone. My name is Christina Harvey. I live at 760 Doe Court in the Limerick Township. And even though I am a parent of a 10th grade student and a graduate of Springford, I am here today not
Chris,
to
could you pull the microphone down?
Okay.
Because it doesn't, you know.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I'm not here today to personally speak on behalf of Mr. Bean. Instead, I'm here to be the voice of a student who was a student of Mr. Bean's, but they have recently moved out of the school district. But he impacted Chase's life so much, he felt compelled to be here to let you know exactly the impact he made. These are his words, so I apologize if I stumble. Mr. Bean prepared me for high school by teaching me time management skills. Mr. Bean consistently kept the class engaged and entertained by using a variety of activities. Mr. Bean taught me good skills, good school habits by asking questions about small details in a book he would have me read, making me actually read the book opposed to using Spark Notes or skimming the text. Mr. Bean minimized the number of students distracting the class by consistently giving the students that were being disruptive consequences. Mr. Bean heavily encouraged full class participation in the class by calling on every student in the class equally. And Mr. Bean never let his personal life affect his teaching, his way of teaching, or how he communicated with his students. I don't know what else to tell you, but that right there, if a child has come back to let you know that this board is making the right decision to keep him on, then he must be a damn good teacher. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Diane Lockemeyer. I live at 31 Connor Drive, Royersford, in Limerick Township. I have two letters, one on my daughter's behalf that she asked me to read for her, and then I have one on my behalf as well. Dear Springford community, my name is Lindsay Lockemeyer, and I am impelled to have my mother speak on my behalf. Unfortunately, tonight is my first day at a new job, thank God. But this needs to be shared. Mr. Bean is more than just a teacher to me. He has been a role model to me and many other students in the Springford community. Walking into 6th grade in 2012, I remember being labeled the fat kid. He was the only teacher who taught me at such a young age the importance of self-acceptance and love of oneself. This led me to realize I was put on this earth to be a teacher and help people just as he did. 6th grade was a rough year for me. Not only was I constantly sick with strep throat, but I was also being bullied, and the school administration and counselors didn't do much to help. There was one teacher, though, who did check up on me, and that, with my friends, was Mr. Bean. In his classroom, I felt very comfortable. I always knew I had a safe place to go when I was upset by other students' comments. They would pick on me in our switch class or at other classes for activities that I played outside of school, which was in my free time, just because they couldn't accept it. Those sport teams gave me enjoyment. But wait, doesn't Mr. Bean's story sound familiar to mine? In fact, it is very similar. Mr. Bean wrestled outside of school, and although it is fake, you can't tell him that though, some people choose to make it a big deal with ill comments about an out-of-school activity. Just like my peers who never attempted to truly get to know me before passing judgment, the same thing is happening to him currently. Having been in a situation similar to Mr. Bean, it opens your eyes to all of the unjust people in the world. This all began with one human sitting behind a computer screen, making up a story that defaces the name of a true gentleman and teacher that I aspire to emulate when I become an elementary school teacher in 5 short years. Sincerely, Lindsay Lockemeyer, Springford High School, class of 2019. I had 30 seconds, but I won't argue with you. Thank you.
I flubbed a little bit just to, you know.
I'm not going to thank you now. I had that originally. This is my letter. I would like to speak to you as a parent who had a 6th grade grader in Kevin Bean's classroom for a majority of the school day, only leaving for science, math, and specials. My daughter began her senior year today and is livid of the unjust lashings on social media about her former teacher. As a parent and educator, I am in support of Kevin Bean. I brought my family to see Mr. Bean's wrestling act 6 years ago and did not think anything of it. It is exactly that, an act. Please explain to me the difference than any one of us who is playing a malignant character in a play. Or is it any different than a lawyer who is representing a guilty person of murder?
You have to wrap up. Sorry.
Stop or...
We could just say a closing statement.
Anything can be portrayed in a portion of a clip when someone has an ulterior motive, whether it be money or political position to gain. This is a person's life at stake that has been unjustly exposed. I thank you, Board, for making the correct decision this past summer.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Caputa, 216 Redwood Drive, Limerick, PA. My son had the privilege of being under Mr. Bean. You need to walk a mile in a man's shoes before you can accuse him of anything unjustly. And I pray that nobody gets accused unjustly themselves. Right or wrong, whether you agree with him or disagree, nobody should be dealt that slander, that character dismissal. I unfortunately had a privilege of being on social media and being accused unjustly. Nobody knows the truth. To sit there behind a screen and make comments. We teach our kids not to be bullies, but we do it behind the computer screen as parents. How can you send your kids to this school and accuse this man of this and then say the same thing to him on your computer or on your phone? Thank you, school board, for doing what you're doing. Keep up the good work. The teachers here, thank you for giving all that you do for our children, because it's not going unnoticed. We will be here for you, and we will fight for you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pradhiman Kaul. I'm from Upper Providence Township, 701 Sourwood Lane. I'm here in support of Mr. Bean. He I have known him for the last 4 years. He was my older son Ayod Kaul's teacher in 6th grade, and he was also, my younger son was with him in the chess club. I have really, really high regard for Mr. Bean, and he has been one of the role models for both of my kids. So I don't really, somebody said the Supreme Court doesn't consider him as a role model, but for me, I trust my kids more than anybody else. And what they tell me and what I have seen is he is definitely one of the best teachers in Springford. And obviously, there are a lot of great teachers in Springford. I'm not taking away anything from a lot of other teachers who are really, really excellent here. But I treat Mr. Bean as one of the top teachers in this district. So I have seen his wrestling matches. I never felt anything wrong. I have been to many of his, and I have actually seen his dad in one of those, and seen his mom there. I never felt anything wrong, but again, I'm not going to talk about that, but I just feel that he's a really great teacher, and my kids really, really have been influenced by him, as well as with many other teachers here in Springford. But definitely, Mr. Bean is an excellent teacher, a well-rounded personality. I've always seen him playing the drums in the Christmas concert and the spring concert. So we need such well-rounded all-rounders in this school district, and I really appreciate the decision made by Springford in this regard. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rachel Brecker. I live at 162 Chestnut Street, Spring City, PA. I had Mr. Bean 6 years ago. He was one of the greatest teachers I have ever had in my entire Springford career. I came from a very small elementary school, Spring City, and I went to the 5th, 6th grade center, and I was terrified. Like, it was the most terrifying event of my life. I started biting my nails, but Mr. Bean helped me get through that. He also invited our class to all of his wrestling matches so that we would go and support him and show people that he was a good guy in real life and not a bad guy. Because wrestling is fake. It does not exist, and that is not his actual persona. I have never felt like he was anti-Semitic or a Nazi in my entire life. And I commend you for keeping his job and not firing him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Glenn. I live at 355 Vista Drive. I wanted to finish reading the rest of Andrew Rosenblum's statement. And Andrew, I just wanted to give him some credit for standing up here today. Obviously, in the minority of his feelings of being offended by this incident, as are a lot of parents that I've spoken to. And there are parents out there that wouldn't come to this meeting and wouldn't say anything out of fear of retaliation against their children, simply for asking for a little bit more recognition for what had happened, a little bit more acknowledgement as far as their offense. So I'm just going to go ahead and read the rest of Andrew's statement. When my family was working on our family tree and trying to trace our history in Russia, there were gaps. The reason for those gaps is because those ancestors of ours were likely killed by Nazis, pulled from their homes, ripped from their families, and put in concentration camps where they were gassed, shot, or placed in an oven. Yes, I understand that wrestling is entertainment, but then again, when was the last time a Nazi appeared on the WWE as a character? There's a reason for that. It's insensitive and it's wrong. It's not entertaining and not funny. This isn't the same as an actor playing a part in a movie, because Brad Pitt and the rest of the cast of Inglourious Basterds are not held to a higher moral standard as educators in the Commonwealth are. With the complete and absolute inaction by the district decided not to discipline Mr. Bean, which I can only wonder was either due to a complete lack of caring or out of fear of lawsuit. Irrespective of the reasoning, the district has set a disturbing precedent. Where's the line to be drawn? It has also opened a proverbial can of worms, as it's obvious that our community, like others, countries, suffers from racial insensitivity. Therefore, as a community, we ask the district to publicly clarify the district's commitment to creating an inclusive and diverse community, hold a public forum to discuss issues of race in our community, create a district policy of conduct for teachers and employees, and outline specific actions that will be taken in the 2018-19 school year to encourage diversity. Notice nowhere in there did we say fire Mr. Bean, or did Andrew, or anyone. Just some recognition. Please know that this is a very real issue, and it's not going to disappear. We owe it to ourselves to teach our children to grow up respectful in all religions, races, and creeds, with love and empathy, not division and hate. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Steve Vivian. I live at 218 Hawthorne Lane in Oaks, Upper Providence Township. I have 4 children in the Springford School District. I'm this year a 14-year veteran of Oaks Elementary. Great school. One of my children happens to be a special needs child, and he was in Mr. Bean's class last year. As you know, having a special needs child is not the easiest thing in the world to parent or to manage. Last year was my son's best year of school because Mr. Bean was his teacher. As you know, with special needs children, they tend to obsess with specific things, and my son obsession was wrestling. So Mr. Bean was the perfect fit for my son. 10% of my salary probably goes to Vince McMahon every year, and I unfortunately know way more about wrestling than I care to. But I think, you know, I want to be here to represent Kevin. I think he's a great man. I think he's very caring. You know, not only did he help my son through another difficult year, but you know, what he does for this community and the school, I think these people tossing stones really need to sit back and understand the man before they cast judgment. Kevin, my son was also part of the choir, which Kevin plays in the jazz band. After hours, you know, giving his time back to the school. Doesn't have to do it, has young children, has a family, but decides to do it anyway. So, you know, I applaud the school board for backing Mr. Bean. And as I said, I really hope the people who came here tonight to go against Mr. Bean understand him a little bit better and maybe will not throw these stones as they have in the past. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name's Beth Eldridge. I live in Limerick Township. I'm at 71 Knifer Road, Royersford. And I really don't want to be standing up here right now. And although I think Mr. Bean sounds like a wonderful man and like the kind of teacher I would want my daughters to have, I need to say something on behalf of my multiracial children. My 10th grader was so disturbed and so hurt when she saw these images. And I understand that there was a lot more to the story than what we saw on the internet, but to a 10th grader, what she saw broke her heart. So what I'm asking of parents and the school board and of teachers is to please understand how your actions impact our students. And our children of color who don't know Mr. Bean only saw a man doing a sig hail. So please, and I'm asking the school board to please put some more policies into place where we can talk about these really, really hard issues. These issues suck, but our kids, they deal with them every day, whether they are children of color or not. We need more diversity training. We need more cultural sensitivity. Mr. Bean sounds like a wonderful person, but the children of color who didn't have him as a teacher are hurting because of this. And my daughter has had a huge uptick in being called racial slurs, and she's having to defend herself, and it's disgraceful. So I don't want Mr. Bean to be fired, but I want everyone to take a good look at themselves and see how is this affecting our children of color. That's all I have.
Thank you.
My name is, excuse me, my name is Jeff Wellish. I live at 52 Oak Lane in Limerick Township. I wrote a letter to the members of the school board and to Dr. Gooden on behalf of Kevin Bean, and I want to thank those of you who responded to me and acknowledged that input. I'm gratified by the number of people who've spoken on his behalf. I've only known Kevin since late November, but it is a privilege of mine and an honor to call him a friend. I simply want to say that while recognizing that there are those here who disagree, I want to thank Dr. Gooden, and I want to thank the other members of the administration and the school board for what I believe is a measured, prudent, and appropriate response to the controversy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Christine. I live at 7 Pine Tree Drive, Royersford, PA. Last name is Mason Shad. My son had the privilege of having Mr. Bean back in 6th grade, during which I went through a difficult divorce. My son went into a depression. The only man he knew as a father figure kind of threw him to the side. And Kevin stepped up and became like a big brother to him. All my kids participated in his after-school chess program and had nothing but best regards for everything that Mr. Bean taught them. My son would be here tonight except for he holds a management position at a local restaurant, and a lot of that is because of the values and morals that Mr. Bean instilled in my son growing up. It's a shame that somebody can't participate in something that they loved since a child and, you know, was a dream come true, portraying a character that is just a character, which would be no different than if he was an actor and had an opportunity on Broadway to play a Nazi guard from The Sound of Music. You know, would that be held against him as well? As it's been stated over and over again tonight, wrestling is not real. It's an act, and it's a character, and it's not who Mr. Bean's character really is. And again, I want to commend the board for their decision. I think it was a very fair. And anybody who doesn't understand Mr. Bean, I would encourage you to actually reach out to him, sit with him, meet him, talk to him, get to know him before you place judgment based on something that you saw on social media. How many things have we seen on social media that aren't real? And if we're teaching our children that we should base our lives based on what we see on TV as real all the time, then I feel sorry for us as a society, because you need to research, you need to learn, you need to do it on your own and not base it just on what people say. So I would encourage you as a public to reach out to him in a positive manner, get to know him. And again, I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Leanne Graham. I live at 136 Oak Creek Drive. I'm here in support of Mr. Bean. My daughter had Mr. Bean last year for 6th grade. My daughter Kyla has special needs as well. And when I asked Mrs. Raber, going into 6th grade, why did you pick Mr. Bean? She's like, you will understand why I picked Mr. Bean to be her homeroom teacher. Mr. Bean went out of his way to make sure Kyla was included. He has pro-social, he builds community, he builds pro-social, he talks to the kids, he makes sure everybody's included, makes sure they understood her. I was invited into his classroom to speak about Down syndrome so that all the classmates knew about Kyla, how to communicate with her. And you should have seen Mr. Bean in that session where interacting with the kids, made sure they understood. I can't say enough about him, the community that he builds, and thank you to the board for supporting Mr. Bean.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nettie Wolf Silva. I live at 741 Chestnut Street. It's Royersford/Limerick. As a Springford grad and parent of a 7th grade student, I'd like the district to take this moment as an opportunity to create a district-wide dialogue on diversity and inclusion. The North Penn School District, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar, just in the last year began a community dialogue on diversity, and I urge our district to use their example as a guide. The first time I felt any positive acknowledgement or affirmation of my diverse background at Springford was 2 years ago. The teachers, or the administrators, and I guess teachers along with them at the 5-6 Center created a multicultural Thanksgiving dinner. It was after hours. It was, for me, 11 years in the making as a student to feel like I was seen, I was heard, I was appreciated. But of note, when you look around at those events, we went the last 2 years in a row, there were very few families that were not minority families. And being a minority in this district, I was worried about my son when he started school here and any kind of discrimination he might feel as a student. And I'm very sensitive to that and try to teach him about his classmates who are of Sikh or Jewish or Muslim faith. And I would invite those of you who aren't from a minority background to imagine attending a school where you are 15% of the demographics in that school look like you. 85% are black or Hispanic or Muslim, and you as a Christian white person are 15%. And your teachers are even less of your teachers are of your background. I think it's hard for us to step outside of ourselves a lot of times, and I know growing up in this area, I was always that person on the outside, and I think a dialogue that extends beyond this forum tonight would be really helpful to allow people to take on and think about other people's perspectives and roles, because when there are issues that come up that are so heartfelt and difficult, I think we all get into our corners and have a hard time stepping outside and thinking, how could someone who's not like me in almost any way have interpreted this differently? And I think we're missing that tonight. And just in general, I think we miss that a lot in the world. So to wrap up, going back to that idea of different backgrounds, I never had a teacher who was a minority until I entered college, and I'd like you all to reflect on that maybe. When was the first time you had a teacher that was not of your own faith or your own ethnic or religious
You have to wrap up.
background? Okay.
Sorry.
So I just want the board and the community to think about this as a great teachable moment for our children, and I hope the district takes positive steps and rises to this occasion as the educators that we hope we all are.
Hi, my name is Cora Louise Zeke. I live at 1220 Sugarberry Lane,
Where at?
Collegeville. I just wanted to say that we moved here 5 years ago, and my experience with all the teachers, I have a second grader, a fifth grader, and a 10th grader, has been amazing. I moved here specifically because of this district and the reputation, and I have not been disappointed. I've just been so blessed to have all these amazing teachers. I do not know this gentleman. I've never met him. I do not have an opinion on whether that's his character or not. I also do not have an opinion on whether or not he was terminated. I don't know the ins and outs about it. I'm not going to stand here and say that. However, this speaks to a bigger question, a bigger issue, the fact that whenever the issue of race comes up, as she said, people do go into their corners. And as a parent of 3 minority girls, I just want some of you to just think about that for a second. Just think about it. As great as this district is, as welcoming as this community has been, there are 8,000 students in this district. With all the amazing teachers, you cannot count on one hand teachers that look like my children. I just want people to just be a little bit more empathetic when they think about that. You know, it's not so much about Mr. Bean and his behavior. Personally, I feel like, you know, he probably made poor judgment. But do I want to crucify this man? I don't know him to make that assessment. However, I do think that we really need to have some empathy. I've always described Collegeville as my little bubble where we don't have all this like yay and division and, you know, and people snobbing each other because of this issue. That has not been my experience here. People have been kind here and welcoming here. And all of a sudden this happens and we start talking about race and everybody just goes into their corners. What about my kids? You know what I mean? What about my children? Like before this happened, I was feeling safe and even though I had questions about the fact that there needs to be more racial diversity in the teaching body. But this, like the tension and all this murkiness is really unsettling. And people really need to step back and think about how people who are black and brown and sending their children out would feel if this was the situation. Like just take a pause for a second before, you know, you go and draw your line in the sand. There's enough of that going on outside of this community. I didn't come here for that. I want my children to be safe. I don't want what happens if somebody who went to his wrestling match goes on the playground and starts to imitate him? What am I going to say? No, none of you here will be there to have these tough conversations that I have with my children, that I have to have with my children. So until you walk in this, it's like I just want you to just have a little bit of empathy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Charisma Gilmore. I live at 18 Goldfinch Circle in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania.
I have to say, I've been here for 13 years. I have 2 children, 10th and 5th grade. I've had a wonderful experience in this district. I moved here because of the stellar reputation that this district has, and I've not been disappointed. I'm actually happy to hear those who are sympathizers with Mr. Bean, how wonderful he is, what kind of character he has. I'm actually relieved to hear that. That makes me feel good that so many people are on his side and feel that he's a good teacher. And because I had no opinion either way about this individual, but I will say, because he's such a good teacher, that is precisely why those who had concerns about this whole scenario were disappointed. I mean, you know, he is a teacher. He is responsible for educating our children in this community. And so I know there are many people saying that, you know, wrestling is fake and he's just portraying a character. Wrestling is fake, but he is portraying a character that comes very close, you know, to anti-Semitism. You know, those Nazi beliefs. He does come very close, dangerously close. I find it very interesting that within, I know that many of the Jewish people here are not speaking on behalf of the entire community, but within that community, they're even divided. You know, some are okay with this and some are not okay with this. And I think that we need to really take a step back and look at those individuals who are directly affected by this, who are hurt by this, who are concerned by this. I don't think that everybody who had an opinion on Mr. Bean wanted to see him fired and to see him, you know, ousted out of this community. But there was a genuine concern. And for those who don't feel like, you know, what's the big deal? It's that type of insensitivity that is where, you know, where you know, we have this discourse and we have this confusion and we have, you know, within groups where people are on this side and people are on that side, and we can't come together and talk about it. We need to talk about it. I'm actually happy that something like this happened, because now there's a dialogue going on. This community, Springford, you know, I would imagine in the last 10 or 20 years, it's become more diverse. And because it's becoming more diverse, we need to start having more conversations about diversity. What can we do about cultural awareness? You know, what can we do about diversifying our academia, our teachers? What can we do about, you know, just raising awareness about being more sensitive to special groups? I hope that we can leave here thinking about the other side and being a little bit more sensitive to the other side.
Yeah, you have to wrap up. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. And I mean, that's just really all I had to say. And I hope that we can agree to disagree, but understand the other side and walk forward together and just start having more dialogue about this so that we can have more of a meeting of the minds. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Alice Lang, and I live in Mingo Village in Upper Providence. And I know Kevin from a different perspective than most of the speakers tonight. I belong to the Cornerstone Church in Linfield, and there's about 15 of us here from the church that are here to support Kevin. The Kevin I know, as one lady described, a gentle giant. I've known his parents that also preached at our church and sang and played the music part of the church, and his father that sang, and his grandparents from my previous church. And I know that they're a great family, and I know Kevin's heart, and he is not that person that plays that part in wrestling. And I'm glad that you made the right decision. I think it's the only decision that I can see that you could make, because you have to follow the rules, and he didn't break any of them. So I just thank you for the board for listening to all of our comments, and I do think it's a time that maybe this situation will bring up more talk about being more sensitive and stuff, but I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, Lindsay Olanoski, 26 Pin Oak Drive, Phoenixville. I just think it's really important to remember that we constantly are teaching our children about the importance of social media, and what goes on there is forever there. And this incident happened, it has been now put on social media, and I understand that, and there's context and there's character, but let's remember that sometimes the impressionable minds that are looking at this clip are impressionable, and they blur lines, and they don't always recognize that the good man is playing the bad man. They're going, the good man is saying things that maybe they're different. Maybe it's something that's only said in hushed tones, and now I'm going to listen a little more intently because he's a good man. And that stinks. That stinks for him. It absolutely does. But to echo some of the other sentiments, this has now opened up a dialogue that I think is worth pursuing in terms of how do we understand as a community, how do we prevent that from happening in the future so that way we keep everybody safe. So that way maybe what we hear, we know how to have a dialogue about it and help encourage the right words and how to convey these thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Quain. I live at 210 Lorraine Drive in Limerick. I was not expecting to talk today until the people of color came up and talked. And I feel it is important that we do have dialogues. Since I've lived here, I've looked around at our in-service days and thought, where are the people of color? We really have so few. I saw a few at our opening convocation last week, and I was thrilled. And they looked like more than just support personnel, like actual teachers. And I think that I support totally. I have no concerns about Mr. Beam or how he, what he did. I think I don't have a concern about that. But I love that this is bringing up, can we bring more diversity, more talk about that? I want to support that, and I just felt like I had to say that. So that's all. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody that took time to come out this evening and speak to us. It was a very trying time, I will admit that, but it has opened up a dialogue within the district concerning issues of cultural sensitivity, cultural diversity, and so I would encourage, there were a couple comments that were made tonight I'd like to just address, and that's nobody should ever be fearful of retaliation against their student. I know this staff, I know the administration, and I do not believe for 1 minute that if a parent came to complain or voice a concern about something of interest to the community or within the school community, that there would be retaliatory actions taken against that student. I would deal with that very severely, first of all. Second, concerning the issue of bullying for the last few years, that has been an issue that we have discussed within the district, and how to address those matters in a way that is equitable and protects the rights of all of our students. And so I've worked with the committee for the last year and a half to address that. In addition, since I've been in the district, the issue of race and diversity within the district has been on the forefront. We have taken steps within our HR department to make every attempt to diversify our teaching staff. And every opportunity we have, we take those opportunities. And in addition, we have been, for the last few years, a member of the organization that I mentioned when we first started, the Delaware Valley Consortium for Excellence and Equity. That name actually changed. It was originally known as the Delaware Valley Consortium for Minority Student Achievement. And we joined that a number of years ago for the purpose of making sure that our teachers and our staff were sensitive and empathetic and understanding to the needs of our diverse population, as it does become indeed more and more diverse each year. And we will continue to do that, and we will continue our dialogue of how to best meet the needs of our students, all of our students. And I welcome those conversations in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. And I believe there's other schools besides seventh grade or middle school that do cultural. I know Oaks does a cultural dinner, and that. So there are a lot of things that And I encourage people to provide suggestions as well as understand what's going on a daily basis within the school district as well, because you'd be surprised how many different programs are already in place. And we do our best to meet all our student needs. You know, are we perfect? I'll never sit here and say we're perfect. We're always trying to keep raising that bar of excellence, and Springford over the last several years has become one of the top districts in Pennsylvania because of that, not only academically, but as well as what we're trying to achieve for all our students. But we do welcome suggestions, we do welcome involvement, and we always welcome parents coming to board meetings to provide input. We're a 9-member board. We do our best to do and meet all the needs of all our students in the district. We take that very seriously, and we encourage involvement continually. We like to have people come to the board meeting and ask questions and get further additional information on different things that the school, each of the schools are doing or the district is doing at large to continue to make us the top. Our goal is to be the top school district in Pennsylvania, and that's not just academics. We're recognized for many things beyond just academics. Yes, there are, like any other district, things do happen, and we try to address them immediately once aware of them. So I always encourage, as Dr. Gooden has said, if there is some type of bullying situation, I know sometimes it's hard, but you need to contact the administration immediately. And if you're not getting what you feel you need from your administration, you have the avenue to work directly with the superintendent's office. But we do take bullying very seriously, and we try to address all issues that we're made aware of. In fact, as Dr. Gooden mentioned, I believe it was last year or 2 years ago, where we instituted a whole process when bullying occur at a school and how that's resolved, and how there's a committee oversight in place to review how that situation was handled within that school environment, so that we are constantly learning and constantly enhancing how we're dealing with those issues. So we take it, again, I'm going to say we take that very seriously, and we do our best, but we can't address things that happen in a school if we're not made aware of it, if the administration's not made aware of it. So again, thank you for all the parents that came here this evening, and thank you for all your comments. All your comments were extremely welcomed, and all your comments would be taken in, to heart, because we truly do care, and we do want this to be and continue to be the best district in Pennsylvania, and also continue to be recognized nationally. So again, thank you. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.